Hey everybody, I'm Todd, and this is Sweet Tea Guitars. Thank you so much for stopping by the channel, and welcome to the Great Guitar Build Off 2022. Alright you guys, I left off in the last video after we got the neck to this point. So what we got done, we got the headstock finalized, I got the volute started, we got the fretboard slotted, glued to the neck. I've given this a lot of thought, and I said in the last video that in this video we're going to get the fret markers installed. That's the plan. However, I had said that I was going to do something different with these fret markers than Scott at Bonehead did. He's got fret markers installed that actually fit inside his stripe. I'm going to disregard the thickness, and I'm going to run mine the same taper as the Purple Heart, which is exactly what Scott did. And now I know why he did that. In order for this Purple Heart stripe to run the entire distance of a fretboard, whether it be a 21, 22, or a 24 fret fretboard, there is no possible way to get this thing to cross the center of the 12th fret and it still observe the angle that needs to be observed to hug this whole fretboard. I'm just going to install my fret markers at the same angle that that Purple Heart's run, but I'm going to use a larger fret marker. I think the aluminum's going to look better. I just think silver's going to go better with this black and the purple, especially considering I'm doing a blue guitar. This Purple Heart stripe, from the edge of the veneer to the other edge of the veneer, is 5.5 millimeters. What that means is my tube is going to be slightly larger than the stripe, which I think can be cool looking. Let's get these fret markers marked out. Now how I'm going to do this, instead of fiddling around with a bunch of measurements, especially considering I'm running on this angle. So I've got the Maximum Guitar Works fretboard template. I've got several of them actually. This particular one is a square end 22 fret 25.5 inch scale. You can use a little punch to go down through those holes right there and mark your fretboard. This will work perfectly. All I have to do is find 2 centers. Then I can use this to lay down on this fretboard and mark out my fret dots. So I'll show you what I mean. I need to find the center on the 3rd fret and the center on the 21st fret. I can lay this down right here. There's a scribed center line all the way down this fretboard template. I can lay that line down, directly cutting that Purple Heart line in half. And I can line this up all the way down. I will clamp this fretboard template to my neck. Right there, I'll take my 0.5 millimeter pencil and I'm just going to make a small little mark right there. While we're at it, we'll go down here to fret number 21. All right, there we go. Now, that at least gives me a reference to make sure I'm not growing or shrinking over this distance. So all I need to do is line that up on my nut line roughly, right in the center of my mark. So I've got a little center punch. I bought a whole set of these. This is an 1/8 inch, and these holes are drilled for that. So just hold it straight up and down. You don't want to move it, and you don't need to hit it too hard. We'll go straight to this one. I try to be a perfectionist because I feel better when I'm like that. I feel like I'm doing a better job. All right, there that is. I'll mark these. And as you can see, I've got little divots all the way down that Purple Heart line where I want my fret markers to be. I'm going to mark fret number 12. All right, those actually look really good already. All right, so there's our fret markers marked out. Now, on our side dots, I've actually got a side dot jig from Maximum Guitar Works that is a 25.5-inch scale side dot drilling jig. I don't use this for drilling though. I don't want to damage the bushings in here. I only use this for marking. All right, you guys, so I'm clamped down the side here, out of the way of my punch, and I'm dead in the center of my fret slots, lined up like this. This is an absolute lifesaver when it comes to marking fret markers, or side dots, I mean. So all I have to do is set this pin down in here, hold it straight, and mark my side dot. Just for a double check kind of thing, I'll make myself a line, because there's still a decent chance that we're not going to be perfect on all these because my punch, I could have been holding it slightly off or whatever. Now I've got a line down the side of my fretboard that is running dead straight. Now I'll get my little brad awl and I'll go down through here and make minor little corrections to the ones that I know are not dead in the center of that line. All of them are dead on that line running down the side of the fretboard, if you can see that right there. Now we'll do the same thing with these. I'll take my brad awl and I'll deepen these marks up just a little and correct for any little miscalculation on my part. One more final check before we go to the drill press with this. I'll lay my ruler down here. I'll mark any that are just the slightest little bit out. It's only this one right here, and it's not bad. It's less than a 32nd. Before we do this, let's talk about how this is going to work. Because as you guys know, I have not radiused my fretboard yet. I'm going with the 12-inch radius on this fretboard. 17, 19, 21, and fret number 3 are far away enough from the center line that I need to make sure I drill those holes slightly deeper, because I don't want to miscalculate and wind up sanding through the pearl. So this aluminum tubing, I measure this and it measures at 7.12. It's a 1/2 millimeter wall. So the diameter is 1 millimeter shy of the outer diameter, because we know the wall thickness is a 1/2 millimeter. So this is a 6 millimeter piece of tubing, internal diameter, which is the size of my pearl. We're set up over here on the drill press. Let's get these holes drilled. Let it scratch the circle into the fretboard, and you can kind of make yourself a little last minute adjustment before you drill the hole. I've got 2 of them done so far, and you can see they're right in the dead center of that Purple Heart strip, which is where I wanted them to be. All right, you guys, I'm back. The camera ran out of battery. I was paying no attention. I was just talking right along to you guys. I got all my fret markers drilled in. I'm to the point now that I want to get the radius cut into this fretboard. I've got 40 grit 3M blue sandpaper on my Maximum Guitar Works 12-inch radius block. I am lucky enough to have the Maximum Guitar Works neck hold down jig, which is this right here. Now, I am not using this thing properly right at the moment. I've got my neck slid way back off of here and it's sitting at an angle. I just want the nylon sides on this thing to be able to guide this block. I'm lined up on my center line. Once I hit the center line up here, we will switch over to 80 grit sandpaper. For now, basically how this thing works, these two high density plastic pieces, I think they're nylon, they act as a guide for this sanding block. For every 20 strokes I go short, I'll make sure I get the nut for 5 or 6 strokes. And then we'll check for flatness once we're, you know, up to that point. My center line's not gone yet, but I do see the 40 grit scratches starting to appear on the center line, so we're really close at this point to being able to switch over to 80 grit. I bought this thing for this purpose. I got my 12-inch block here. Let's burnish this. All right, we're burnished. Let's get another piece. I got this longboard sanding file off of Amazon for $15.99. This is a Duragold longboard sanding file, rigid. It does not give. Give that a couple of minutes to cure. And this is the way to do this if you don't want to use an inline pneumatic air sander. Let's get our radius gauge out. I'll get my little light and we'll just start checking. We still got a little ways to go. We're really close. All right, I'm gonna switch over to 80 now. I will absolutely save this ebony dust. My center line is gone. Let's take our radius gauge one more time. I just want to make sure I've got a nice 12-inch radius down through here. We're good. What I like to do at this point is draw up my fretboard while I've got 180 on here and just give it a few strokes. And all my pencil marks are gone. That tells me right there that my fretboard's nice and flat. Radiused, slotted, fret markers drilled, all is well. Let's check it with the straight edge. We're dead on it, you guys. I bought these jars right here from Amazon. I got a 24 pack of these for $11. These are great for storing this dust. Don't want to waste this precious black ebony dust. This stuff right here is like gold. Got about a quarter of a jar or a third of a jar of solid black ebony dust. Very cool. I'm super happy with where this is headed. And I'd like to thank Scott at Bonehead Guitars once again for being cool with me using this idea. Thank you, dude. I appreciate it. You guys go check out Scott's channel, Bonehead Guitars on YouTube. All right, you guys, when I left off last night, we were putting a radius on the fretboard, which we pretty much got done. I got my fret markers drilled in straight down the Purple Heart stripe. I've got my side dots drilled in, and you can see I drew a line down through there. They're all looking really straight. I laid a ruler on them after the fact, and all the bottoms line up, so I'm in good shape. We'll work a little bit on this thing and get a couple of facets cut. I don't want to mess with this transition right here until I'm actually glued into the body. That way I can file and grind and do everything I need to do with sandpaper and whatever to make sure that this transition up into the body is smooth. We need these two rulers and we need a protractor. We're going to redefine the center line on the back of the neck once again. So I'm going to mark this out on the back of the neck. Let me turn it around so I got some good light here. And I guess I could turn on my lights. There we go. there's that one. You want to make these accurate as possible. I'm going to mark another one right here. Now, all right, there's our center line. We're not really worried about up into the headstock area at this point. What we want is the center line running along the back side of our neck where the carve's going to happen. Let's flip this over. We want to be about 2 millimeters past the bottom of our fretboard. So I'll mark that out at 2 millimeters. There's one mark. There's two marks. Now let's draw us a line connecting those two. All right, that looks good. Let's flip it over and do the same thing. 2 millimeters from the bottom of our fretboard. There's that mark. There's that mark. All right, we're going to draw ourselves a line. So that is our no-go zone. And if you'll see, 2 millimeters below, I'm still below my side dot markers. I'm going to be right up on the fretboard when I go to roll that over without getting into my side dot markers, which is a good thing. I'm going to use the Geo technique from Tornelli Guitars on this somewhat. Geo uses masking tape to mark out his facets. I'm going to draw this up first, and then we're going to line this with some 1/2 inch masking tape to mark out our facet line so we can make sure that we're absolutely straight. I'm going to come in from the edge of this neck, 8 millimeters. I'm going to draw a line on the side of the ruler. On this end, since it's a little wider, I'm going to go 10 millimeters, especially since I'm wanting to observe that taper and soften that profile out as we get up here. So 8 millimeters on our nut end, 10 millimeters on our heel end. All right, we'll take our ruler. I'm going to draw a line straight down the side of the neck right there. We'll flip it around. We'll do the same thing on this side. All right, I got a line. I'm going to take a piece of masking tape, just like so. We're going to do the same thing down the edge of the neck. So the parts of the wood that don't have tape between these two lines are what's getting carved. I'm going to make myself a do not go any further than this line, say the 13th fret. We'll make a tick. Take our ruler. So we don't want to go any further than that. All this area between this edge of this masking tape here and the edge of this masking tape here is going to taper down. I want those two lines to meet. I'm just going to start working on this. Fine at first, I just want to get that corner knocked off. Now that the corner's gone, we'll switch over to the coarse side. The Shinto is the greatest guitar building tool, carving wise, to ever be. Then you finish this, and I'm not nowhere near done, I'm just demonstrating. The Iwasaki with finesse will take every single Shinto mark out of that wood. If you learn how to finesse the Iwasaki, you can leave yourself almost a finish ready surface with it. That's how killer they are. And I want to get myself a flat right up on that 13th fret line that we made, so I know don't go any further. All right, so I'm almost to that tape line. I'm going to switch over to the Iwasaki at this point. if you push the Iwasaki back and forth like this, think of it as hundreds of little micro hand plane blades or irons. If you want to finesse the Iwasaki and you want to create more of a slice, you bring it like this and you kind of tilt it back, and you can see what it does. It creates these little curls, and it creates a shiny, slick surface, no problems. All right, and if you'll see, what I've done is created a wide first facet, which is exactly what I wanted to do. Now I want to flatten it out, because I don't want a round over. I want a facet, a flat bevel. I've got a first facet going on. It's looking pretty good. I'm going to take my new extra fine flat Iwasaki and go down through here and clean that first facet up. Let's switch to this side. Do that same thing. Fine side first. Switch over to the coarse side. You start removing this material. So when I get the first two facets cut, whether I'm doing it with masking tape or whatever, what I like to do is take my ring finger and my middle finger, and I want to run my fingers back and forth. I don't want to touch any other part of this neck but that part I just carved. And I like to close my eyes and just run my fingers back and forth down this cut. And each time you run up and down this thing, your fingertips register differences from side to side and let you know if you've got any major issues. This is the part, in my opinion, that really puts you in touch with this instrument. We're starting the processes now that lend themselves to the soul of an instrument. To a player, this is the absolute most important thing that there is about a guitar, is how it feels, the mojo value, you know, what this guitar says to the player. And as a builder, I think it's important, even if you don't play, to try and get yourself into that mindset and understand what that means for a player. You know, it's like a love thing. It's spiritual. You know, it's a connection that you develop based on that initial impression. Then you build that relationship with your instrument over a period of time, sometimes many, many years. And that is lovely. You know, that is art. That's just one thing I really like to do, is just, I really want to touch the guitar. And I'll do that all the way through the rest of this build. I run my fingers up and down the skin, you know. That's just how I feel about it. So let's take these two pieces of tape off. I'm happy with where we are right now. I think I'm going to go for an asymmetrical profile on this neck. That needs to happen right now. I want to measure 6 millimeters from my center line. Now we're going to come down here, and I don't want it to be quite as drastic down here. So I want it to be a little bit more of a soft shape. So I'm going to come 11 millimeters from the center line. Now on this side, I'm going to measure this completely different. So here's what I'm going for. I want the neck to feel a little bit fatter in the hand at the thumb area. I want it to flatten out a little bit sharper on this side. That's why I came 8 millimeters here. I want it to develop more of a round, soft, round shape up around the 12th fret. But I want that to happen gradually. So actually what we're going to do is an asymmetrical profile from fret 1 up to about fret 9. Then it'll kind of start to standard back out, so to speak, as we get up towards the 12th fret. So on this side, I want to preserve that roundness a little. So I'm going to come 10 millimeters from the center line that way. I'm going to come down here and I'm going to preserve the taper. I'm going to go 12 millimeters down here because we already know I've got a 2 millimeter difference because I started off with an 8 millimeter and a 10 millimeter distance. I'm going to draw this line in, and this will become very clear once we mark this off with the masking tape. So let's mark this off. So you can see I've got more material to remove on this side. I'm going to thin the neck out once we get to this point. When we start dimensioning the neck down, I will have a profile to follow that's going to automatically give me an asymmetrical profile from about here back. So I'm going to come off of the line that we made first on the 8 and the 10 millimeter distance. I'm going to come to 12 millimeters on this end. There. On this end, I'm going to come to 10 millimeters. Let's make that line. I don't know how well you guys are going to be able to see that down the side, but you'll see it once I get done. On this side, let's go 15 millimeters on this end. And on this end, we'll do the same thing, 15 millimeters. All right, let's tape this up. Now I want to remove the material and make those 2 points meet. Gets a little bit easier to see now that I'm not all the way down on the fretboard. So you can kind of see what's happening to the Shinto as I go down. The Shinto's starting down here like this. As I get down here, it's more like that. We'll switch over to the Iwasaki. And this is the magic thing about the Iwasaki, you guys. I like to take 2 fingers. And you want to get your Iwasaki at a sharp angle. And keep your 2 fingers on top of the flat. And on the handle side, all you're doing is just holding the angle flat. It's the 2 fingers that you've got over the bevel that are actually doing all the work. Very little pressure, and you can get a super smooth, slick finish with the Iwasaki that way. You can feel when you're flat. The Iwasaki just glides down that wood when you're on a flat surface. Once I get that done, I'll take my card scraper. This is an 80 thousandths Crown from Sheffield, England card scraper. And shave that wood flat. It's awesome. Okay. Now, we're going to do the same thing over here. All right, I'm hitting the tape. Switch over to our Iwasaki. Get any of that material gone that we need to still remove, then do the 2 finger technique. I'm more round and more flat here. That will become even more pronounced once we do this final facet right here. All right, then we'll go to the scraper. And don't shave too much. You just want to clean it up. That's all you're doing, just like that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to divide the neck in half. We'll do this at 2 separate times. I'm going to run a tape line down my center line. Just like that. And we'll take and make a measurement from the bevel that we just cut on the top side on this ridge right here. We're going to come down from there, and we want to come about halfway in between these two spots, which appears to be right at 13. So we'll come 6.5 millimeters, and down here we're going to stick to 6.5 millimeters. All right. Shinto, same thing. Connect the two dots, or the two lines, I mean. Now I'm going to stay off my center line. We're going to clean this bevel up. Get it nice and flat. There's my next facet. We're going to do the same thing on this side. I want to hit this little hump right here before we go any further though. I want to be about halfway in between the top of the bevel that we cut earlier. So we're at about 17 millimeters. We'll go to 8.5. Same thing down here. Get the Iwasaki. We need to take the thickness off the back. That's why I left that V on the back here. That gives us a sharp point to define our center line down the spine of that neck at this point. Once I get the 1st fret and the 12th fret down to their proper thickness, we'll connect all these bevels one to the next, then we'll round them all over. We're in good shape. We've made good progress tonight, you guys. I'm happy. What I want to show you guys, and I'm really hoping you're going to like it, is the body shape that I've decided to go with. You guys know I said this thing is going to start its life as a Strat. I drew the Strat shape on there with the Maximum Guitar Works templates. I wound up erasing the lines, drawing in some new lines, putting an Ibanez JS1000 template down on here so I could get some forward momentum. If you guys look at a JS1000 or any of the JS models in the Ibanez guitars, the rear of the belly is slanted slightly forward. That gives the guitar forward momentum. I've talked about this on the channel before. I'm a fan of that look. I like the guitar to look like it's, in motion. I started thinking about it, and I don't want to build an Ibanez, I don't want to build a Strat. So I started thinking about what can I do that will be a little bit different, regardless if it looks like another guitar. So what I've come up with is this right here. It's a double cutaway. It's got some attributes of a Strat. It's got some attributes of a JS1000. And it's got some attributes that neither one of those guitars have. I drew those in there. Like this cut right here. I don't want to put features on a guitar that are for looks only. Like a carve especially. I would rather that serve a purpose. Now, sometimes the bevels or whatever may serve to help the looks of the guitar. Absolutely. But, when you start changing a shape up like this and making that kind of a dramatic change, I wanted it to serve a purpose. So I kind of thought that would be a cool place to just rest it up against your leg if you're playing sitting down. The rest of it pretty much follows various attributes of the JS1000 and a Strat and some Sweet Tea. I changed these contours right here. I changed the horns. They're not shaped like either the JS or the Strat. There's really nothing on this guitar at this point that you could lay either one of those templates down and any part of it match up. I just used those to get an initial shape drawn out, and then I changed everything. I really am hoping that you guys will drop me some comments and let me know what you think about this shape. Now, I know it's kind of hard to tell at this point without color on the guitar, and I haven't done any of the bevels or anything like that, but I will give you a preview of that shape with the neck pressed down into the neck pocket, so you can kind of get a feel for what this guitar is going to look like. That's pretty much it right there, if you can visualize that. I'm really happy with it perspective wise. I spent hours on this thing, you guys. I really did. And I think it's going to be a complete Sweet Tea original when I'm done. I want to get one more thing done in this video before we wrap things up. I want to get these fret markers put in. We don't necessarily have to get everything filed down, but I want you guys to get a preview as to what I'm talking about when it comes to placing these pearl pieces down inside of that aluminum tube, and I'll let you guys see what it looks like. Let me grab my tubing cutters and let's cut us a little piece of this tube. All right, so I just let the cutter do the work, because if you try to torque on it too much, you'll get your aluminum piece, especially aluminum because it bends so easy, you'll get it out of round. So that's what we look like now. I'm going to take my little round, actually I may use a half round. I think that may work better. And I'm just going to go around here and widen that out. I have got medium thick black Starbond, and I'm not going to use any activator. I've got something I think is going to work even better. I've got these black mother of pearl pieces right here. I think this will work because these are thick. Oh yeah. There we go. Now obviously I haven't filed those or anything. We're going to keep going with that. I like it. It's got an iridescence to it. All right, let's take our 6mm drill bit. A little super glue. I won't have to use the ebony dust at this point. Okay. What I may do is leave the 12th fret marker alone and put a white piece in it. Just go around the outside or the inside edge of this and get rid of those burrs. All right, super glue. And you can see what I've done here. I put a white mother of pearl in the 12th fret, and I also used white super glue to glue it in. There we go. Now obviously I got to file this and all that stuff, but each fret has black mother of pearl inside the aluminum tube except for fret 12, which has white mother of pearl. We've gotten our neck faceted. It's ready to roll. All I got to do is carve this down to the proper dimension thickness wise on my 1st fret, on my 12th fret, and then we'll join those two via the facet method until we get this neck to the thickness that we want. We've got our body shape, and I'll show you guys one more time. This is a Sweet Tea Cloud 9. When I get blue stain put on this guitar, I think that's going to look really cool. You know, as far as that body shape goes now, I got to a point where I started to see in my head, you know, you start to develop an understanding of what the guitar, or at least what you think the guitar is going to look like once the shape gets cut out. Then you got to start to picture any treatments you plan on doing to it, like a bevel or a contour or even a round over or anything like that. You got to kind of be able to picture the hardware on it, what the bridge is going to look like. So I tried to keep that in mind as I was drawing out that shape. Getting the pickups routed, getting the neck glued into the body. This thing's going to start to take shape pretty quick once we glue this neck in. So I've got like 3 months, you know. I've got plenty of time. So I don't want to rush this. I want to make absolutely certain that I'm thinking everything through, that I'm taking my time to actually teach the process if I feel like I'm confident enough to teach about it. Now, some things you'll watch me do and I won't talk about them that much, and that's because I'm still trying to wrap my head around how I intend to do this from now on. I try not to talk like I know anything about something that I don't know anything about. You know, I try to wait till I'm comfortable enough completing a task before I start talking to you guys about how to do it. So I'm just letting you guys know that, you know. All right, you guys, I'm going to wrap this video up right here. I didn't get quite as much work done as we did in the last video, but we handled some really important things in this video, and I feel like I did put forth a pretty decent effort to show you guys how I begin the neck shaping process, which was my main goal for this video, is to get the initial facets cut into the back of this neck, which we've gotten done. We also got our fret markers drilled in. I've sanded some of those, as you can see. I love this. I think that is so cool. We got our body shape finalized and drawn out. I have not cut that out yet. I will not do that until I'm absolutely certain that nothing needs to change. In the next video, we're going to get the side dots put in. We'll finalize this neck profile and get this down to its final dimension minus final sanding. I'm not going to do that until the neck's actually glued to the body. I'm going to drill my tuners in. We'll finalize this headstock shape and make sure it's final sanded up to about probably 240 grit. Before this neck gets glued to the body, we'll carry everything on this neck minus the fretboard up to 240. Once I get the neck glued in, we'll carry the whole body, the neck, everything but the fretboard up to 360 before I start the finish process on this thing. The fretboard will start with 400 after I get the final radius cut in. I'll go to 800, 1000, 1500, 2000, 2500. I may even actually go up to 3000 and use a piece of 3M Trizact foam 3000 grit to get a really nice shiny finish on this fretboard. We got a good bit of work done, you guys. Our neck's pretty much ready to go to the next phase. I have not decided what I'm doing with side dot markers yet, but we'll decide that in the next video and we'll get some more work done. So I hope you guys will continue to follow along as I get closer to the final video of my Cloud 9 build, which is my entry into the Great Guitar Build-Off 2022. And until episode of this build, you guys, peace and love.